next week.
They got a floor.
Actually, next week, you know what I'm saying? Or the week after, I'll be in Virginia.
I'm a
Can I grab that chair?
yeah. I'm gonna drop a mic for camera on the chair.
I'm gonna sit in the chair. Y'all know I'm vertically challenged.
You go to
Barely seeing you either.
Shamaryah, you on?
Oh,
yeah.
Let me see, because he's,
I can see him. I'm vertically challenged.
is it
I'm really short.
better now?
Yeah.
You want, maybe you want to do,
That's
get on.
That's
sit on
good.
that one?
All right.
Want to sit on there?
No, no, so you can see his upper. That's good.
Hallelujah.
All praise. Hey, man. Where's my drink?
Right, it's right here. I got your water up there.
Oh, God. Can y'all see me, hear me, all that? All praises.
All praises.
All praises. Hey, I'm Yahsayah. I'm from Johnson County. You know, and that's all I really say about me. I love this book. I love our people. And a lot of everybody in here for just the love, you know what I'm saying? And all praises to the Father for his faithfulness and for his goodness and for just being him, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's about it. I don't know how to do the fancy stuff. Hopefully everybody got a Bible and an Apocrypha or a Bible that has an Apocrypha in it. And we just gonna be in a book. And I had something prepared. And like when I got here or when I got inside, I was thinking maybe I should go into something else because I already had like multiple things prepared. But I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. But confirmation that to touch on pretty much, I think we got a lot of new people in the chat. And yeah, there was confirmation was Sirach 2, because that Sirach 2 is in these other notes that I have prepared during the summer months. And then the brother that over here looking like a young Eshawn Burgundy, his testimony just remind this. Something he said during his testimony was another confirmation to talk about this right here. And I grew up Baptist, and then whenever I got like in college, I left the Baptist church, and I've discovered my California people may have heard this Calvary Chapel, and pretty much Calvary Chapel has this interesting distinctive where they just teach the Bible verse by verse, and they really let the scriptures speak for themselves. And yeah, man, we're gonna do that. We're gonna be Deuteronomy chapter 8. We're gonna be in Deuteronomy chapter 8, and we're gonna pretty much break down the first 3 verses. And how do we get the screen up here? I don't know. This is too sophisticated. Change it into something to go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 8. Can y'all hear me in the virtual classroom? Because you know, I got a soft voice, I got a low voice. And
Not soft.
It's not soft, it's just low. All praises.
The screen sharing for you.
You see it? I can see it. So we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 8. Before we get into this text, we're going to pray. So, Father, thank you for being our Elohim. Thank you, Father, for being who you are, the creator of the ends of the earth, the sustainer of all things, Father, for being Yah, for being the lover of our souls, the person, the one, the being that brought us from out of the darkness into your marvelous light. Father, thank you for another day to gather, to fellowship, to congregate with you, with the brethren, with the sisterin, Father, and for your word, Father, that has restored us, that has brought us closer to you, Father. And Father, forgive us of our sins and forgive us of the sins of our ancestors, Father. Wash us clean, purify us by the reading, meditation, and application of your law, statutes, commandments, and cleanse us by the blood of your only begotten Son, who came in the flesh, who died for our sins, has resurrected from the dead. He was sent forth to bring forth your indignation upon the heathen who set confederacies against you, and upon all those who have rejected your covenant, and to bring forth our rescue from the four winds, from the four corners of our captivity, back to our righteous estate, where we're reigning with you and your Son. And Father, during this time of your word being read, your word being broken down, Father, prepare those hearts to hear, those that are in the room, the physical room, those that are in the physical bayat, and those who are on the virtual bayat. Father, I pray that you continue to just draw us closer to you, draw us in your presence, build us up, shape us, mold us, and break us into the images of your Son, which is turned in the image of who you are, Father. And yeah, let us just do what is pleasing for you. And Father, loosen every tongue in this room, blessing us, to let us decrease, let us humble ourselves under your hand, and let us be tools of righteousness as you desire for us to be. Father, you are good, you are magnificent, you are holy, you are just, you are righteous, and all praises belong to you. And name of your only begotten Son, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So Deuteronomy chapter 8, we just gonna go through 1 through 8 and then break it down. And everybody there in here?
Shema.
Shema.
All praise. Deuteronomy chapter 8, starting at verse 1.
You want to read? We can read for you.
Okay, that's good.
We'll start off.
All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers.
All right, so actually read it all the way through to verse 3, and then we're gonna go back to verse 1, and then we're gonna break it down from there.
And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahawadah Elohim led thee in these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live.
All right, so we're going back to verse 1, right? All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, and that ye may live and multiply and go and possess and go in and possess the land which Yahweh swore unto your fathers. So right here, we made a covenant. We observed that covenant to do and to live it. And what that calling is that we chose to go into is an agreement. It's a vow. It's a covenant that our ancestors have put us in by, I don't want to say by default, but put us in through their words, through their actions, that we need to do everything that is in this book, all of his commandments that we need to observe, that we need to keep his law, that we need to have and maintain the covenant through our obedience. And that's the whole duty of a man, is to fear the Most High, keep his commandments. And can we get Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14?
This is the Old Testament, right?
Old Testament. Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14.
Shema.
Shema.
Read.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yah and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
So that's the whole duty of a man and a woman. is to fear the Most High, keep His commandments, and when we die, if we don't see, you know what I'm saying, the coming of a Mashiach and be glorified with Him, you know, or you know what I'm trying to say, is we face the judgment, and everything that we do in this flesh is going to be put into judgment, whether it is righteous, whether it is wicked, whether it was good, whether it was evil, whether it was functional, whether it was dysfunctional. Everything that we do is going to be put into judgment. And everything that we need to be doing is fearing Yah, keeping the commandments, and having that patience, that endurance of a saint, and waiting for that kingdom to come. And we can get that Revelation 14, 12, and 13.
So Revelation 12?
Revelation 14, 12, and 13.
Shema.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Yahushua.
Right there, bro. Like, that's the patience of the saint. You already know what the scripture said, who the saints are. It's the seed of Yahsharahla. It's us. We are the saints of the Most High. We're the ones that the Most High knew before the foundations of the earth to be His chosen, to be His elect, to be those righteous rulers upon the face of the earth, and to reign in the kingdom with Him and with His Son. And while we're in this estate, while we're in this low estate, that is what we need to be focusing on. Keeping the commandments, fearing Yah, having the testimony and the witness of a Mashiach, because you say you believe in Christ, can't believe that you believe in the Messiah and not keep His commandments. You can't keep the commandments, claim that you keep the commandments and you can't claim to be keeping the commandments.
You got it.
You can't claim to be keeping the commandments, but deny that Hamashiach has already came. It's both sides. You have to take both sides of the coin. You have to walk in the commandments, which in turn is having that testimony of Mashiach. And you have to, and while you're having that testimony of Mashiach, you have to keep the commandments. There's no way out of it. This is through the law, through the testimony of the law, the prophets of the commandments, and the testimony of Mashiach Yahawadah, that you know that person has light. If they don't speak according to that word, there is no light in them. And which light, again, the law is the light, and the Mashiach is the light of the world, the light of Israel. So if you don't have either of those two lights, you're in darkness. And your vision is dim. And at verse 13.
And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Master from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them.
So while that rest from the labors, that labors is those things that we had to do in our captivities. Those labors is us fighting and struggling to make sure that we ain't got pepperoni on our pizza, to make sure that we don't got no pig enzymes in our cheese, to make sure that pressure, that labor, that day, it's a natural Shabbat. It's a true set apart day, but I have to go into work to pay these bills and take care of my family. It's those labors that we will be let go of. And that work, that righteous keeping of the commandments is what we're being blessed for when we are resurrected and reigning in our righteous estate. Yeah, that's what I got for verse 1. And now we're going to move down to verse 2.
Before you leave there too, you can point out, because me and Gerald, we be in Revelation a lot, and it says that their works do follow them. That's something very key that
I
a lot of,
highlighted that.
yeah, because when I went through, that was something that me and Gerald was talking about, resting from your labor, like you mentioned, but your works is what's gonna follow you.
So just believing is not enough?
Exactly. So it shows that just believing is not enough. Even in the New Testament, this is the end of the book, according to them, that they wrote. And at the end of the book, it says your works is what follow you. So when they say that you don't have works, all you have is faith, then this here is another, and it's many when you start putting them together. But I just wanted to make sure that point was brought out, that what you do is gonna follow you. The Most High is gonna see that Yahsayah was up there bringing a word forth to help someone, or myself, or Miss Gina, even the works of, oh, Miss Gina, Miss Corinne prepared meals for the Shabbat for like 3 years in a row. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Or somebody, oh, such and such cleaned the bathroom. Those things count. It's no big, no small. All of those things, everybody has a role and a part to play. So your works is gonna follow you in the Most High, because the Most High can establish your character through the works that you do.
And the precept that, right? Let's get Revelation chapter 22, I believe it's verse 14, and then after that, 2nd Ezra chapter 2, we're gonna go from verse 36 to 37, or through 40. But the first one, Revelation 22, I think is 14. Revelation chapter 22 and 14. Blessed are they that do the commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates of this, through the gates into the city. So at the end, very last chapter of this book is, blessed are they that keep the commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and go into that city. That city is in Jerusalem, and that tree of life is, what it says is the tree of life. And 2nd Ezra chapter 2, I'm gonna start at verse 36. Flee the shadow of this world, receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly, or receive the gift that is given you, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that hath called you to the heavenly kingdom. Verse 38, arise up and stand, behold the number of those that be sealed and the feast of Yahweh, which are to be departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of Yahweh. Take thy number, O Zion, shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which fulfill the law of Yahweh. So right here, this is what they will call an eschatological, I don't know if I pronounce that word right.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's a prophecy pretty much to the end, and you see people being sealed, and what are they being sealed for? Or they're being sealed in the feast of Yah. So these people are keeping the laws. They're observing the celebrations, the holy days of the scripture. And these people are clothed, these followers, these numbers are of people that are being counted, are being clothed in white for fulfilling the law of Yah. So there's no way around it, bro. If you want to have a relationship with the Father, if you want to know and have a relationship with the Son and be in this covenant, you have to keep the law. You have to keep the commandments. That's your whole, that's your main responsibility.
What version did you just read that out? The second Ezra?
Second Ezra 2.
And what version are you
King
reading?
James, King James.
Because I just opened up my lost scriptures for the first time in a long time, and I noticed something different and small word differences in these translations have great impact. So I just want to double back to Second Ezra chapter 2 and verse 38. I want to see if yours read like this. I caught this and like that's a great difference than how the King James reads. So this is Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 38, and this is from the Encyclopedia of Lost and Rejected Scriptures. It says, "Rise and stand and see at the feast of the Most High." Does yours read like that? No? So it says, "Rise and stand and see at the feast of Yah the number of those who have been called, the number of those who have been sealed." Now, the reason why I point this out, family, is all our classes overlap, and that's how we know the Rawak is in our assembly. All our classes overlap. So this verse is saying, "See at the feast of Yah," right? And we brought this out. If you have a Septuagint, this is why it's very imperative to get you a Septuagint, because we now know what time of the year that we're going to be redeemed. So if you go to the Septuagint and you go to the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah tells you when we're going to be redeemed. We return to Zion during Passover. So if you go to Jeremiah 38, it's going to be 38 in most translations. Your King James is going to have it at Jeremiah, I think 31. So I'm going to go to, just so you can get this parallel here and see that when Second Ezra chapter 2 verse 38 says, "Rise and see at the feast of Yah," he's marrying what Jeremiah saw. So this is Jeremiah 38 in the Septuagint, and I'm going to pick it up at verse 7. This is Jeremiah 38 verse 7 in the Septuagint. If you have a KJV, it's going to be Jeremiah 31. And it says, "But thus saith Yah to Yaakov," or Jacob, "Rejoice ye and exult over the head of the nations. Make proclamations and praise ye. Say, Yahweh has delivered his people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north and will gather them from the end of the earth to the feast of the Passover." So we know we're being redeemed during a Passover. We just don't know which one yet. I'm praying it's this one coming up. So I just want to marry that to show you how these translations, you have to be careful, because the smallest word has great impact. We're going to be redeemed during Passover.
Yeah. If anybody in the vertical room got anything on their spirits that they want to say, y'all can say it. You know, I'm not on a whole dictatorship over this whole thing.
Yeah, Shalakia, just want to add, Shamaryah kind of mentioned, how me and him had a lot of discussions based on Revelations, and consistently what you're hitting starting out is no way around it. It's about those who obey the commandments and had a faith in Christ, which was the Revelations 14 one you brought out. But I just want to also highlight Revelations chapter 12, verse 17. Revelations 12, verse 17, because although this is a different time period in prophecy, there's a difference. And we've been using the word testimony all throughout the morning. And when we really think of the word testimony, the church has took testimony and kind of watered it down, whatever the case may be. But Just in the truest sense of the word testimony, if I go to court and I'm making a testimony in your behalf, whether something is true or not, my testimony is valid. That can mean whether you're free or locked in jail, the rest of your life. So when it comes to testimony in the truest sense, these particular ones at Revelation chapter 12, verse 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, which you highlighted and brought out, and have the testimony of Hamashiach. So what's the difference between those and then our time frame where we're at now? As you brought out Revelation chapter 14, we know we're living in the manifestation of Revelation 13, 14 playing out. We know the beast is already at play. We know the image is being manifest. We know the mark is being manifest. We ain't actually putting our finger on it, but we know it's being manifest. And we know that there's coming a time of this wine press, this destruction. But as was brought out earlier, those who had the faith in Hamashiach and kept the commandments, some of those died and their works follow them. So they're good. They know they will be resurrected. They know they will come back, but pertaining to these ones who had the testimony of Christ, well, who can have the testimony of Hamashiach? Who were eyewitnesses or those who were there to witness, to be able to speak? Because when we say, I want to tell you my testimony, but we're talking about we're giving all praises to the Most High. We're talking about what he do for us daily, but we ain't live with Christ. We don't live with Hamashiach right now. He's still with us through the Ruach. But there's a difference between the two. And I think that even though it's just slight wording, there's a difference between Revelation 12 and Revelation 14. But what's consistent, regardless, just to land me back, what's consistent is you ain't getting around the commandments. These are those who keep the commandments, and whether you got the faith or the testimony of Hamashiach, the commandments is consistent. You can't get around that. You can't get around the law. And for those people who try to get around it, this is how we can show them how. And you went to Revelation 22 as well, to show the end game. But I just wanted to plug that in there because, a lot of these words we've been using, and I just wanted to throw it in there.
And to let me back, what doctrine was Mashiach bringing? What was he actually teaching? He was teaching the law. He was teaching the commandments. And John 7, I'm gonna start at verse 16. Yahawadah answered.
Give some week. Get with you, brother. Says John what?
John 7, I'm gonna start at verse 16. For everybody there, he says Shema.
Shema.
John 7, verse 16. Yahawadah answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it is of Yah or whether I speak of myself. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, but he that seeketh is his glory is that sent him. The same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. So right there is telling you that Mashiach, he didn't bring his own doctrine. He didn't bring his own teaching. He didn't bring his own instruction. He brought the Father's instruction. Mm-hmm. He brought the Father's teaching. He brought the Father's law. And how you know that he was sent from the Father, how he was sent from Yah, because he didn't seek his own glory. He saw Yah's glory. So that's how you know, bro, like these folks out here that are claiming that they know Jesus, claiming that they know Hamashiach, but are saying that he brought a whole new different doctrine. They're a liar, bro. They're from the pit of hell. Their doctrine is from the pit of hell. And the doctrine, and it's contradiction of the doctrine that Hamashiach came and brought. And
also, if I could jump in here, for those of our family and friends still learning and still unraveling Christianity, John chapter 7 is a great chapter to prove that the Trinity is the works of Satan. Because he just said in the verses that I just read that my doctrine is not my own. It's him that sent me. So this whole chapter is just a great example how the Trinity and other dogma of Christianity is the work of Satan.
All praises. All praises. Everybody good?
I have a comment. Can I add something?
Yes, ma'am.
All praises to God. So the testimony of Hamashiach is also what we saw him do: heal the sick, raise the dead, restore sight unto the blind. But Hamashiach also was obedient even unto death.
Mm.
Are we willing to be obedient even unto death? If it means your head, how far are you willing to go with this truth? Is that going to be your testimony?
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. I think, and I know that a lot of people that are coming into this, I don't want to say into this truth, are coming into this knowledge and understanding that we are Israel. They haven't really truly knew or considered, and we're going to get into that, all praise. They haven't really considered and counted the cost of what they'll lose. You know what I'm saying? They ain't considered that I might lose my job, I might lose my friends, I will lose my job, will lose my friends, will lose my family. There's a high chance I'm gonna lose my life. And people aren't secure in their faith. And the reason why they're not secure in their faith is because they're not secure and founded upon the law. And really consider, if Mashiach said that, this is going to be paraphrased, Mashiach said you're going to face the same things that I face. They haven't really, you know what I'm saying? They haven't really thought of, they haven't truly processed it within their brain that if a Mashiach died, there's a high chance that I'm going to die. And we got to build ourselves up in that. We got to build ourselves up in that. And yeah, bro. Right, you got something to say?
Khan, I just wanted to add on what y'all two are saying, Sister Corinne, and you just brought out. And earlier, I believe it was either Gerald or Montel, but they had even said it themselves: the servant is no better than his master. So with these times coming, this is why I've been preparing people like Antoine and Joyce and just whoever we minister to or talk to. And of course, we're all on the same accord, but especially like for the newer people in the walk, and Sister Shaniqua and Brother Lewis, for y'all to listen. If we are to be like Christ, think about what he had to go through. Think about the things he had to suffer. The text said King Hamashiach suffered all things. So with these times coming, if we are the chosen generation to see the salvation, we're going to have to suffer through something. So I wanted to read 2 verses if I could. I don't want to be too long, but Ezekiel 22, verse 15. I saw this yesterday on Facebook, and it had me read the whole chapter, and it just had me stunned. But then I'm going to just land me back right off of what you and Sister Corinne just said, just to make it simple and plain for the people that might be new. So Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 15, it says, "And I will scatter thee among the heathen and disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee." Now, what is Yahweh saying right here? In our terms, the Most High saying, for disobedience, I'm going to send y'all into captivity, and I'm going to use the heathen to beat the hell out of you. So
they're really interesting.
So that ties into, I believe it's Revelation 19 and 10, Yahawadah, King Yahawadah saying he chastens who he loves. If your father and mother didn't love you, they wouldn't whoop you when you did wrong against them. They whoop you because they know if you go out here in the world and do this stuff, you're going to get killed in your unrighteousness. So they chase and steer us and keep us on the right path. And that leads to Sirach chapter 4, verse 28. And this ties directly into what you and Sister Corinne were saying, because we're going to have to suffer something. Some of us are going to have to die for the glorification of the Most High's name in earth. 28, strive for the truth unto death. Strive for the law unto death, and Yahweh shall fight for you. So there's also another lesson in this one verse. This thing is conditional. So for everybody saying that, oh, God loves you with an unconditional love, no, he don't. This says, strive for the truth, and Yahweh will fight for you. It's the condition. If you keep the law, the Most High gonna fight for you, even if it means you losing your life and him raising you up again. So I want to say, I just wanted to bring that out too.
What was that?
Oh, Sirach 4:28.
I got it.
All praise. All praise. And that kind of like goes into this next verse, verse 2. Actually, it does. Deuteronomy chapter 8, going back to verse 2, and thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee and to prove thee that to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. Right there, everything what we are currently going through is to prove us and to sharpen us, to strengthen us, and to see whether to ourselves, because Most High already knows our heart, to show ourselves whether we're gonna really keep his commandments or we faking the funk and we gonna easily compromise with this construct, compromise with the system. But those who are solid, those who are founded upon the commandments, founded upon a Mashiach, they're going to be proven. That proven is going to strengthen them in their connection, in their relationship, in that covenant that we have made, our ancestors have made with Yah, and that after the proving, will be fine as gold. And can we go to Zachariah Chapter 13?
And that's that Sirach 2 we open up with.
And we gonna get there. Go back there to Zachariah Chapter.
Gerald, he asked, what is Sirach? You might want to slow down a little bit.
Oh, so Sirach, Ecclesiasticus.
How they find that?
It's in the Apocrypha, and it's in this red book. Hold on, you can't see the screen, but it's in this red book called the Apocrypha, or you can go get this other book that contains lost scriptures, and you can go on the Bible app. You can go to either the New King, or not New King, King James Version, American Edition, or the New Revised, depending on the New Revised on the Bible app. And then I don't know other translation. Oh, the Good News, I think. And then you can download an app that has the King James Bible on it with the Apocrypha.
The red book. The red book is on Amazon, probably for like $10, $15.
Like $10.
Got you. Appreciate it, Shalaki. I just wanted to just because I understand like where it's at. I'm still trying to familiarize myself though what the other names actually mean in the so-called modern text that we have. So when we say Sirach or something, can we remember just to mention like the other name that may be more commonly familiar with, because I'd be lost still. Bear with me.
My bad. Lock it. Yeah, bro. All praises.
The other name is Ecclesiasticus.
Yeah, the other name is Ecclesiasticus, again, for the family online. Ecclesiasticus. Sirach.
We say Sirach because when you say Ecclesiasticus, we always get it confused with Ecclesiastes. So that's why I use Sirach. So for difference.
Praises. That proving us, that the Most High that's proving us is, we get Zachariah 13 8 through 9.
Shema.
And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried.
So people aren't in this walk and aren't truly humbling, walking with the Most High, keeping His commandments. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to die. They're going to perish, whether by sword, famine, pestilence, because they didn't take this covenant seriously. They weren't taking the Most High to be a man of His word. And they out here playing with their souls, playing with their lives, bro. And with them playing with their lives, they end up losing their lives with that 1/3, that righteous remnant that is seeking the Father in truth and sincerity. They're going to endure, and through that fire, through the purging, through that puring, they're going to prove themselves as gold. And Jared, you got something to say?
Yeah, Shalakia, what you just read, what you said sparked a thought in my mind, and I was thinking of like the compromise that individuals we know that's getting caught up in, not even understanding how important it is to stick to Yah and His commandments and keep our faith in Him. Because I've got a friend of mine that he's kind of woke up to the Jehovah's Witness aspect of false religion, but he ain't came fully over to this truth yet. And he drunk the Kool-Aid and his job, because he need his job. I need to work. He followed the mandate and got the vaccine. But what's ironic, I was talking to him recently. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot not even to say that, the glaze. But I was talking to him recently and he said, yeah, I don't work there no more. I referred to the hospital. And I'm like, why you don't work at the hospital no more? He said, they laid me off. I'm like, so wait a minute. You telling me you had to drink the Kool-Aid and follow the mandate to get the vaccine to keep your job. Keep saying to keep your job. But then they still lay you off.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing, bro.
That's wickedness.
That just reminds me of, I don't remember exactly where it is, but it pretty much says something on the lines of you gain the world to lose your soul. And then you know what I'm trying to say, he gained the temporary fact, he gained a couple dollars, he gained a couple extra checks. The temporary, the temporary pleasures of this society, and then this society turn its back on you, which goes back to this point. You can't put your trust in man. You can't put your trust in your job. When you put your trust in your job and not your trust in Yah, you have idolized your captivity. You have idolized your current predicament, and you lost all faith and all hope in the one who created you. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. And yeah, bro, we can't do that.
So he hasn't. Shalaki. So I say that to say he hasn't learned to be purified by the fire and to go through the test like that 1/3 would, because he's avoiding. It's like people are avoiding the test in this world. They're trying to do everything they can to avoid tests. They don't want pressure, and it's like you forgetting the basic fundamental thing that when you follow Hamashiach, you have to go through these tests. You have to. It's imperative. It's a part of your salvation. And I just how easy it was for him to compromise and get played. So it just showed me and strengthened me and gave me the confidence to keep on standing firm in what we know, because they just playing people left and right. They playing people left and right.
They out here making themselves like suckers.
That's crazy.
And I want to say it's not their fault, but low-key it's their fault because we're not ignorant people, bro. We know how to read, even this ain't our language. We know how to read their letters and their characters. And we just destroyed out here because we rejected the law. And when we rejected the law, all common, quote unquote, common sense were void of. And we ended up making these radical decisions that make us lose our salvation. Yeah, bro. That's sad.
If I could, I want to jump in because that Zachariah talks about the 1/3, and you know this 1/3 is not a controversial topic, but there's different understandings about this 1/3. So I just want to marry it with Ezekiel Chapter 5, just to show the family, especially the new people, that this prophecy has already taken place. And we are the remnant of the 1/3 now being purified. So let's marry this. Let's marry Zechariah with Ezekiel Chapter 5. Because some people think that that 2/3 are going to be killed.
No, they already died.
The 2/3 of our nation has already been killed, and the 2/3 of the nation was only 2/3 of Judah because northern Israel was already gone. So Ezekiel 5, Shema, when you have it, and it reads, "And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thy head and upon thy beard. Then take thee balances to weigh, and divide the hair." So cut off the hair of your head and your beard, and weigh the hairs in the balance, right? Verse 2, "Thou shalt burn with fire a 1/3 part in the midst of the city." So he's going to make an example of his hair. To burn a 1/3 part in the midst of, with fire in the midst of the city, when the days of the siege are fulfilled. "And thou shalt take a 1/3 part, another 1/3 part." So now we got what? 2/3. "Take another 1/3 part and smite about it with a knife." So cut this other 1/3, cut it with knives. "And a 1/3 part thou shalt scatter in the wind." So this last 1/3 part is Judah, the rest of Judah who was scattered through the 4 parts. So we're already down. This is just Judah, not the 10 tribes. Judah was reduced to a 1/3 of what we were, and we are the remnant of this 1/3 that was scattered to the winds. So I just want to
brought that out too on my friends and family. I read that.
Just for understanding, we want people to know that the tribe of Judah has been already reduced to a 1/3 of what we were in our glory days.
Yeah, Shalakia, thank you for clarifying that. So it leads me to wonder now. So what's is there something else that talk about in the wilderness? How a 1/3 or 2/3 gonna be killed off, or is that the one that's being misunderstood? Because I've heard this being taught as a future thing.
So yeah, I'm glad Mariah brought this out too, because when I used to read Zechariah 13, I was thinking it was future, but another elder brought Ezekiel 5 out and told me that that's present. We are that 2/3, we are that 1/3 and being purified right now. And that Ezekiel 20 talks about the rebels being purged out. And I'm gonna start, so Ezekiel 20 and verse 33.
So 20 and 33, right?
20, 33, come.
Shema.
"As I live, saith Yahweh Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, I will rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith Yahweh Elohim."
1 second. So During what time of the year did he plead with our fathers in the wilderness? Pesach. You see how these parallels keep popping up? So he took us out of Egypt during Pesach, and that's why we shared that we're going to be taken out of this Egypt, well, all around the world during Pesach. Hallelujah.
So, Shalaki, I'm sorry, because so just for clarification, so Marah and Yahsayah, yeah, one of y'all probably already won't say this, but Doreen looked in the Septuagint, and the Septuagint pertaining to that says a fourth. So, I mean, which one? I mean, does it matter like the translation? Which one is consistent? Just the point that has already happened, or how we do that?
Say that again, out.
The Septuagint say a fourth, and not a third. A fourth part. It said. She said, Doreen said she read something, and it was saying how the 1/3 was the manipulation, because it's all of the Masonic ties and stuff that they try to like integrate into the Ezekiel. But she said the in the Septuagint she have, which I know is multiple copies of the Septuagint, it says a fourth. So she was like which one is accurate? And is the third, is that a manipulation? Because I know y'all pointed out a lot of those.
I'm privy to the Septuagint. I would say this is another contradiction. Then I would have to go. I'm staying consistent, and I'm trusting Septuagint. So let me see if I got mine marked. I don't think that's one we had marked.
Because that really doesn't, I mean, it does bring out the Masonic point, but it doesn't change the prophecy, you know. But it does make more, it makes clear. It makes it more clear, and it does remove, like she said, the Masonic ties with the division of threes, but the point of the scattering being the last part already happened is still valid.
Yeah, indeed. So, Marah, so you looking in the Septuagint in your Ezekiel 5, what it say? Because I want to make sure we got the right one.
So,
Ezekiel 5, verse 2.
So I got the Britain, and mine is saying, I got the Britain, and mine is saying, this is verse 2, a fourth part.
Okay.
Fourth
Yeah,
part.
I just want to make sure we had the right one.
So Britain says the fourth part. I'm going to trust Britain every time. So I would say that's another corruption we just found in the Masoretic. So I'm going to mark that down too. I think we're up to like 50 now. This is crazy.
And for the family that's new, if y'all don't have a Septuagint, I highly recommend y'all get a Septuagint before, you know what I'm saying, we go black. That's
Which one? Yours don't have it?
Yeah, it's fourth in here.
This is fourth. Okay.
Yeah. All praises.
But it's still just talking about Judah because northern Israel been gone.
Oh,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, from scripture, we can see that we are going to be redeemed during Pesach. But we have brethren who keep Pesach at different times of the year. Any thoughts on that?
You could say that again?
I'll say,
I'm just thinking about brethren who keep Pesach at different times of the year. You know, some people keep it February, March, some people keep it April. We all have different calendars, but if our redemption is during Pesach, I know the Father knows when to redeem us.
the Father knows when his Passover.
You'll know when Pesach is then. He ain't no You get it, right? You just
We'll
said it.
just know.
We just have to keep our eye on the
Yeah,
prize.
like,
Everybody keep an eye on the prize.
Yeah,
Everybody
we
keep an
know,
eye.
like, during sometime, like, it'll
They're
be,
gonna know, okay, that this is true. We gotta roll with y'all, it's time to roll.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things, all the confusion is studying, this is,
It's going
Mashiach is here.
to
Right.
cease
And
and
we'll all come into understanding.
Calm.
At
yeah,
that
we'll
point.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, cause it's a lot of, like, we see it's, everything we got is corrupted.
And the brothers who are humble, like, wow, you guys were right, or we'll be like, oh, you guys were, because if you got to choose taught for the nation, it's like, oh, wow, hey, you guys were right or wrong.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to be on right, if we might want to be on wrong, like, wow, all praise, you guys were on point. But like some of the siblings are saying now, blessed be everyone who's making an effort. So, but
They call it Passover season because
right,
what you said,
Right,
everybody's
so-
a little different.
calm.
All right, I'm gonna get you a little bit. I want to finish this Ezekiel 20 off, verse 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me, and I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yahsharahla of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahawadah the Most High. So that's how, they're not passed over. They're in that wilderness experience when the rebels that will be purged out, and the Most High will deal with them accordingly, and then we're going back into the land where we belong into. Right.
I'm Ezekiel 20, what you brought out, also pretty much crushes the whole rapture doctrine. People thinking that we just gonna go to this pie in the sky and be taken up into heaven with God and be with Jesus. So this is a clear distinction in Ezekiel that shows you it's going to be a second Exodus, just like in the time of Moses, instead of just a rapture.
Yeah.
And just for the count, everyone keeping count. With that one that Sister Doreen just found, with that corruption Sister Doreen just found in Ezekiel, I'm up to 41 corruptions of the King James Masoretic text. That's just in the Old Testament. New Testament has more corruption. So we're up to 41 contradictions or corruptions of the King James Masoretic text. And thank you for that, Sister Doreen.
Thank you.
Ahch shared one last week in Exodus, and then we have, so we're up to 41, y'all.
I don't want to go too far off of your teaching, but that Ezekiel 5, because we're talking about the prophecies and different things that's already happened, and maybe Marah can get this one so it'll work better. What's the Jeremiah where it says it'll like Jacob's trouble and indeed like which one?
Jeremiah 30.
But which verse?
Verse
Just
6.
one of y'all get
Jeremiah
that
30,
one.
verse 6.
Because what I see in the studies is that the Jacob's trouble is already started. It started way thousands of years ago. And I believe Daniel, he mentioned that it'll be done unto us that's never been done before. And doesn't it say that in Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Which one says like never been done before?
This I got Jeremiah 30. I'm gonna start at verse 4 and read to verse 7. And these are the words that Yah spake concerning Israel, Yahsharahla, and concerning Yahawadah, Judah. For thus saith Yahweh, we have heard the voice of trembling, of fear, and of no peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth prevail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman travail, and all faces are turned into paleness.
Ashy.
Verse 7, alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
Right. So he says, read that last part again. There's none like it.
Alas, for the day is great, and so that none is like it.
So that none is like it. And then Daniel mentions that same thing, right? Because he read Jeremiah, right? Then when you go to
Daniel 12.
let's get somebody grab it real quick.
I think it's Daniel 12. No, it's Daniel 12, like the first 5 verses.
Yeah, so I'll read it real quick.
I got the Septuagint pulled up on this one, Daniel 12, and I wrote in my Septuagint, Jacob's trouble, ? So the Septuagint says, and toward that territory, Michael, the great angel who stands over the sons of your people, will go by. That will be a day of affliction of a kind that never was from when there was nations until that day. I'm just stopping right there for my point.
So that's 2.
So that's 2 times we see where it says there will be a day of affliction of a kind that never was from when there were nations established until that day. And when you go to Ezekiel 5, where we were, back to start, and it's verse 9, but you can go to verse 8 for context. Or verse 7, since it's verse 7 is on Yahsayah's topic so far. So I start Ezekiel 5, verse 7 in the KJV. Therefore, thus says Yahweh Elohim, because you multiplied more than the nations that are round about you, and have not walked in my statutes, neither have kept my judgments, neither have done according to the judgments of the nations that are round about you. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I, even I, am against thee, and will execute judgments in the midst of thee in the sight of the nations, and I will do in thee that which I have not done, and whereunto I will not do any more like thee, because of all thine abominations. See, that's the same language that's being said in the other prophecies. To our nation, the Most High turned against us and we were an enemy to the Most High. So it's 2 things to that. One is he made us to be able to endure being his enemy. And the second thing is he's telling us we are his enemy, and he's going to do to us in front of the other nations something that's been unlike to any other nation. Then when you look at the history, trying to slow down, but the nation pretty much fell for good at 70 AD. The way that a nation to be so great and to fall, and to be scattered into all these other countries. And then he said, but when I scatter you, I'm not going to stop there. He said, I'm going to send the sword after you. And then that goes back to your Deuteronomy. He says, the curses is going to pursue thee. So the sword, that's why there's so much death with our people, because the sword is chasing us, right? So from 70 AD all the way till now, a nation who don't even know their language, history, where they come from. They don't even know, who they are. They're completely destroyed, completely lost. And that's why the United States says you're 3/5 of a human, because you don't have an inheritance from your father. Our father is the Most High. The Most High took the inheritance. So the people know that. That's why they wrote in their constitution. So to me, from what I see with the precepts, and then of course, Gerald is saying Matthew 24, Luke 21, but just for the sake to get Yahsayah back on track, to me, when I see that from 70 AD, and you could go back further if you want, but from 70 AD all the way till now, to me, it's been Jacob's trouble. That then was the start. We're coming to the conclusion, the part where we'll be saved out of it, because the Most High has done to us, our nation, that he's never done to any nation before. Did you see what I'm saying?
And
Salaki, real quick, y'all. I don't want to take up too much time, but can I go right back to 22? Because right before I read that the Most High literally is going to send us to these other nations to whip us back into shape, the verses right before that ties into what you're saying, Shamar. So real quick, I'll just read it just so everybody can be edified and be a witness to what you're saying. Verse 13 of Ezekiel 22. Behold, therefore I have smitten mine hand at thy dishonest gain, which thou hast made, and at thy blood, which hath been in the midst of thee. Can thine heart endure, or can thine hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, Yahweh, have spoken it, and will do it. And I will scatter thee among the heathen, and disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee. And thou shalt take thine inheritance in thyself in the sight of the heathen. You're going to come back to who you are in the sight of the heathen, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. So you had said earlier that the Most High created us to be a resilient people, to be able to withstand his judgments and his wrath. And that right there in Ezekiel 22 just showed you, can thine heart endure, or can thine hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? So you definitely right on the money with that.
That's the better context of he won't put nothing on you more than you can bear, versus kind of the Christianity form of it. But yeah.
And that endurance, bro, and that goes back into what's bringing out, that proving us is building our endurance for the darkest times that we are about to face. And can we get 1 Peter chapter 1, and we'll start at verse 6 and read to verse 9.
1 Peter, I got it. 1 Peter what?
1 Peter 1, starting at verse 6 and end at verse 9.
1 Peter chapter 1, starting at verse 6. Shabbat, when you have it.
Shabbat.
And it reads, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, your amanah, being much more precious than of gold that perishes, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahawadah HaMashiach. Verse 8, whom having not seen, we haven't seen him, ye love him, in whom, though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. Verse 9, receiving the end of your faith, your amanah, even the salvation, the Yahawadah of your souls.
So yeah, bro, so that fire, you know that you're going to take this glaze or you're out of here. All right, cool. I have my stuff already packed. Like, you paid it, take this jab and we repossessing everything. It's like, all right, that's cool. I got a bike in a tent. You know, that's proving us, that's building us, that's shaping us, that's molding us, and that's breaking us into something that Yah desires for us to be. And that's being completely reliant upon him and being joyful in him, and knowing that these temporal things are going to fulfill you. These temporal things are going to satisfy you. It's going to dumb you down and be dependent upon the system that's already found. You know what I'm saying? And it's making us gold. It's making us stronger. You know what I'm saying? And go ahead, Nariah.
Oh, Salaki, you good. That was from early.
Oh, my man. Oh, praises. So And like the precept that is First Peter chapter 4 at verse 12.
First Peter chapter 4, starting at verse 12, Shema. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trials, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
So these fiery trials, these trials that we are facing, that we are going to face, it's all it's going to do is going to get worse, bro. We can't think it's weird because what's happening with us is happening with everybody that's seeking righteousness in our captivities. And we supposed to be joyfulness. We supposed to take this with cheer, and it's going down to verse 13.
Verse 13. But rejoice in as much as ye are partakers of Hamashiach's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy.
Because we rejoicing because of Mashiach, our master, our king, our brethren face the same sufferings. And the suffering that he faced, we're facing. That persecution that he faced, we're going to face, and we are facing. And be joyful because he called us to be his, like we are called by the Most High to be his elect, to be his chosen. The only reason why we feeling this way, the only reason why we're facing these things is because we're chosen, we're his elect. And after this place burns, after this kingdom vanishes, that joy of that kingdom that is promised to us is being magnified. That glory that Mashiach will be revealed is that glory that's going to be revealed out of us. And that's something to be joyful about. That's something to be cheerful about. That's something to keep us encouraged and steady in this walk that we are walking right now in this present time. And we can pick it back up at 14, then end at verse 18.
First Peter chapter 4, verse 14. If ye be reproached for the name of Yahawadah, happy are ye, for the Ruach of glory and of Yahweh rest upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. Verse 15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters.
So pretty much saying, keep the law, keep your nose clean. Don't be paying attention about anybody else, how they live, and do what you're supposed to do. Make sure that you're right in the sight of Yahweh. So when the time comes, when the firmament cracks and Mashiach comes through and rescue us from the lands of our captivities, that we ain't dirty. You know what I'm saying? That we aren't polluted by this place. That we are as pure as we can be, that we are as righteous as we can be in the places of our captivity.
Shalakia, or in other words, to let me back, don't have to suffer by coming under the hands or the law of man, But if you stay under the law of God, of the Most High, and you do His will, then you're going to suffer by means of your righteousness. You're going to suffer by means of that, like Hamashiach, but not out here because you're murdering and breaking the laws and then have to come in subjection to the laws of men. Because that's the contrast of, as we know, of what Galatians 3 talks about, 3 and 4, where Paul is contrasting being under the law of man versus repenting and coming back to the laws of the Most High.
You out here being persecuted and judged for doing what's righteous, for doing what's pleasing in the sight of Yah, rather than being persecuted and judged for things that are contradictory to the law, statutes, and commandments. Let's pick it back up at verse 16.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Nazarite, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Yahweh on this behalf. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yah, and if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the report, the basar of Yah?
Verse 18 too.
Verse 18. And And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner, which are one and the same, appear?
So actually, let's finish the chapter out.
Verse 19. Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of Yah commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator.
Yes. Hallelujah. So right there it's telling you, bro, that the Most High is faithful to those who are faithful to him. And if judgment begins with the house, meaning that before his judgment is brought out upon the whole face of the earth, the fullness of his judgment is brought out to the whole face of the earth. It's the house of Yahsharahla that's going to be dealt with first. That's going to feel that that it's going to feel that indignation, that wrath. And then after he purges out the rebellion within our hearts, and then within those who are in the reprobate mind, you know what I'm saying? Then the whole earth will feel that wrath. Then the whole earth will feel the anger and that blade of a Mashiach Yahawadah. And, you know, they'll pay for their wickedness. And if the righteous can scarcely make it in, which tells you, again, you know what I'm saying? How you already know that the ungodly ain't going, that the ungodly, that the sinful, that the sinner isn't going to make it into the kingdom. And the main thing to keep that we need to be focused on, the righteous need to be focusing on, is how we can make it in. How are we going to make it in? How are we going to receive and inherit that salvation? Is by keeping the commandments and having faith in Mashiach Yahawadah. And that's our key into the king, and that's our key into the kingdom. That's how we're gonna survive. That's how we're gonna live with the Most High. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, man, I'm really feeling this today, man. The Ruach is going through because it's flowing through because, like, you think about it, man, the audacity of these religious leaders or these organizations or just in general, you never see tell me somebody, a religious leader that was put to death for his righteousness or for the sake of of the Most High or for the sake of following Hamashiach. Who? We don't know no modern person that actually fit that void. So for Hamashiach to say, or for the word to say that we have to go through the same suffering as Hamashiach did, and we will, even to death, like was brought out earlier. I think Sister Joy said it. Even to death. Like, we don't see that. So the audacity of people to take these texts and try to apply it to them and say, oh, you know, because Jehovah's Witnesses will always say, well, he gonna start with his people first. So he gonna judge us first. He gonna start with us, and then he gonna punish the rest of the world. And it's like, y'all ain't going through nothing. Y'all are not going through. The worst y'all see is somebody slamming doors in y'all face or hanging the phone up on you, and you ain't even gonna see that now because you ain't even going into ministry now because of the COVID restrictions. I mean, when everybody else, I see even the camps and everybody's still out there on corners and doing stuff, but the witnesses absent. Where they at? They gone. They ain't, I mean, so man, stop y'all whole preaching work, you know, and I'm just speaking from them passionately because I mean, I was a part of that. But just in general, when you look at these organizations, these religions, these leaders are dying normal, regular deaths, natural deaths, not being suffering for the sake of nothing. They dying rich. They dying rich. They not dying like suffering because of their faiths. But on the other hand, when you see people like us, we're waking up and we're coming back to the law, statutes, and commands, and we're repenting, but we're suffering in the process of it. Look at all that we're losing. Look at all that we're having to go through, the purification, whether it's family, whether it's jobs, whether financially, whatever the case may be, we experiencing what the real persecution is about. Those that lose houses, mothers, fathers, brothers, and stuff for the sake of the kingdom. We experiencing that. These religions don't have a clue what that's like, you know? So, I mean, I just think of the audacity of them to try to claim this stuff. When no, y'all not fulfilling this stuff. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Bro, and I'm glad you mentioned Jehovah's Witness because I was thinking when I first found out that I was teaching article, I'm gonna do a presentation for Jehovah's Witnesses and expose them. And then I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna do it. I ain't just gonna do Jehovah's Witness. I'm gonna do Mormonism too. And I was like, nah, because it's everywhere, bro. Like, all you really need to do is just go on YouTube, which they tell you not to go on YouTube or not to look up anybody else's joint because, you know what I'm saying, that's going to take you away from the faith. And you'll see that these people aren't alive, and there is no truth in them. You know what I'm saying? And then like the model of how I was taught to study the scriptures and how I adapted to studying the word came to my mind or was brought back into me. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna expose all these false doctrines through the format of how I know. And then it was just recent, like before I walked up here, you know, it's like, nah, don't do that. Let's just do what you were told to do and just let the rock move. And I have to say this, all praises the Most High, because all these topics that I was going to bring up initially are being brought to the foremost, to the forefront. But yeah, man, all praises.
I want to jump in here because the Spirit is telling me to do this, especially for our new people who are just coming in. I know it's a lot to try to study, and don't want to overwhelm you all with a lot of precepts, but we have to do what the Spirit says to do. And now it's time to really spend more time in this work than you spend in any other thing. You know, 40 hours at the job, we should spend 120 hours with this word. So I want to marry 1 Peter 4 with second. Can you pull up 2nd Ezra? If you go hit the reader mode, it'll take you back to regular mode. Because this 1 Peter is parallel 2nd Ezra, and what Montel been through, what most of us are going to go through with sacrificing jobs and cars. So
The chapters are
chapters right there. What we're going to go through, Peter is saying, think it not strange these fiery trials which are to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you. Now, 2nd Ezra, we got to get this KJV. Click on the KJV 1611 link.
It's right here.
Back to the right.
It says 1611.
Oh, I see. Click on that.
And you'll be able to find it.
And now go to 2nd Ezra. Because I know you may be just coming into the truth and you may just be waking up. But you're at a good time because it's really about to get exciting. We're about to see the hand of Yah, like Brother Antoine just witnessed. Yah just gave him a glimpse to take his voice, and now it's coming back. 2nd Ezra 16. So I want to show you that now you guys just coming in, don't be overwhelmed and don't be scared. You're at the perfect time. But now, because of all this blazing going on, now is the time to live like pilgrims. Think it not strange what's about to happen to us. So we're going to go to 2nd Ezra chapter 16, and we're going to pick it up just for the sake of time. We're going to start at verse 40. Or verse 39. 2nd Ezra 16, starting at verse 39. So this is he got the archaic English on the screen. I'm going to read it from the Lost Scriptures. He says, so the calamities will not delay in coming forth upon the earth, and the world will groan, and pains will seize it on every side. Hear my words, O my people, prepare for battle, and in the midst of the calamities, be like strangers on the earth. So in the midst of this COVID season, in the midst of these blazings, in the midst of them taking your job, taking your house, be like strangers upon the earth, right? He says, verse 41, let him that sells be like one who flee. So if you got a store, you have a shop, be like one who's ready to flee. Let him that buys be like one who will lose. Let him that does business Be like one who will not make a profit. So don't give up and just sit on your hands and say, I'm waiting on Messiah. Continue your daily operations. Go to work if you got a job. If you got a business, conduct your business. But just know, like we're saying, we're fasting and praying when it's time to move. Don't be holding on to that house. Don't be holding on to that car. Don't be holding on to that business. It's time to move. This is the season. That's what that day of Jacob's trouble, that's why we come back to the Hebrew. The word day in Hebrew is yom or yawam. And it doesn't always mean a specific day. It means a season. It's a period. And we've been in the period, like Shamaryah says, we've been in the period of our trouble since Hamashiach left. So, but now the period of our trouble is about to be heightened. That's why you prepare now. Don't worry about that mortgage. Don't worry about foreclosure. Don't worry about being jobless if they're forcing poison upon you. Now is our trouble is about to be heightened. So now get you a tent. Learn how to fast and survive off of one can of tuna. This is the time we're in. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And since we're in 2nd Nephi 16, I do want to go to that. I do want to go to the end of the chapter. Hold up, make sure where you go.
Just scroll up.
Go to this end of this chapter, 2nd Ezra 16, at verse. Let's start at verse 74. Hear, O ye my beloved, who is the beloved of the Most High, us, Yahsharahla, Israel, saith Yahweh, behold, the days of trouble are at hand. And this was back then, but this is now. So the day of trouble is now. But I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, nor doubt, neither doubt. For Elohim is your God. So throughout the darkness of this construct of this society, and no matter how dark it is, don't be afraid, don't doubt. The Most High is the one that's guiding us. And he's doing that through these scriptures, through his Son, and through his Spirit. And the guide of them that keep my commandments, the only way how the Most High can be your God, if you keep his commandments and precepts, saith Yahweh Elohim. Let not your sins weigh you down. So
and that's what we was doing in 2nd Baruch, that prayer 2nd Baruch. Your command, everything tied together, fam. This is not for nothing.
And let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Woe be unto them that are bound with their sins. So if you're bound by your sins, woe, destruction is upon you, and covered with their iniquities, like as the fields covered over the bushes, and the path thereof covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed and is cast into the fire and to be consumed wherewith. So if you're laid it down by your sin, if you're still entertaining, playing with sin, with the iniquity, with the lawlessness, bro, destruction is coming your way. And to avoid that destruction, to avoid that eternal separation from the Father, you got to repent and keep these commandments in the faith of Mashiach.
Yeah, man. Shalaki. So, and to land me back with Morale just brought out, that particular text is nothing new. Like you said, and it just goes to show, I thought of another one in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, when Saul was talking about, when he was talking about the married people, and he was telling those who married, be as though you have no wife, or those are single, stop seeking a wife. You know, he wasn't saying divorce your wife and just act like you're single, you know, and not carry out your role. You know, he was basically helping them appreciate the times that we're coming in. He's talking about the same time that 2nd Ezra was talking about, because you hear the same language. If we'd have kept reading, you hear the same language in that text. Where is that? It's verse, because y'all probably already see it. it was verse 44. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. So he's telling you to know what time we're approaching. In that time, like right after saying in 1 Corinthians, the married man is anxious of the things of the world to gain the approval of his wife, and the married woman the same, anxious of the things of the world to gain the approval of her husband. That's distraction. That stuff, if you don't keep the times at hand in mind and understand the trials and the things that we about to face, and you caught up on the normal day-to-day distractions, even if it's you putting your mate to a degree where they're keeping you from focusing on law, statutes, and commands and doing your thing, that could be your detriment. So he's telling us. So he's telling us to make sure that you focus on these times so you straight, and your mate should be doing the same thing for themselves, so y'all can support each other and build each other up. Because ain't no time for that. I gotta please you. I gotta keep you happy, wife, happy life. Ain't no time for that, because you may have to go without. You may have to go without, and I can't get out there and get it for you. So you got to learn how to be content without having, and focus on the Most High.
And something that an elder told me and continues to tell me a lot is find you a wife that loves Yah more than she loves you. And you be that man, that husband that loves Yah more than you love your wife. Because your wife isn't going to have your salvation. It isn't holding your salvation. And your wife can go off into some wickedness. And you can go through too, but the main thing is that individual stays committed to what the Most High has for them. And stay committed to Yahweh. And yeah, man. That's real. It gets real in the field. All praise. So going back to Deuteronomy chapter 8 and at verse 3. Praise everybody there. Say Shema. All right, cool. All praise. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, that thou mayest not know, that thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man lives. Or there's like he humbled us to hunger. He hungered us to the point where we ain't had nothing to sustain these physical bodies, to the point where we had to see that when he gave us manna, we didn't know what it was. We had to see that out of the sure kindness and the sure mercy and the sure grace of who Yah is to keep his promise intact to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he fed us. You know what I'm saying? And that bread, that spiritual bread, that manna, we gonna go in for us now is a Mashiach Yahawadah, but we gonna get in that. But we don't get in this word bread. You know what I'm saying? For those who are in the physical, bayat, looking at this wall, Lacham or Lacham, the La, the Cha, and the Ma. I'm gonna let y'all process what that means. Lacham, which is bread, and the Ibar tongue.
La, Cha, and then the Ma. That's bread.
Say it again, please.
The La, and this is the Cha or the Ka. We're not sure. Some people say Cha, some people say Ka. So La, Ka, and then Ma, Lacham. Shepherd's staff, the tip wall, and the water. That means bread in the Hebrew.
And for those in the virtual bayat, y'all can process it through as well.
I got the fact that the shepherd is covering your blood or your life force. He's your covering. So that's what I was.
And also leading inside the tip wall, we know it's the family, the Mashapah, So leading the family to life, because water is life.
Mhm.
So you see how we can process our language. I love our language.
All praises. Anybody in the virtual?
Or don't forget the water, the leading the family to the blood.
And
That's where you're going. It just hit me last second.
all praises. All praises. Yeah. So like Mariah said, you know, leading the family to the blood. And another way how I process it is that shepherding in that separation by the blood. And we who profess in the Mashiach Yahawadah also back how we preserved during the Passover in Egypt. Blood on the door. So the shepherd, the chief shepherd, you know, Yahawadah through, or you know what I'm saying, and Yah passed over us. We were separated by the blood that brought us our salvation.
So how I just process that's what we're saying. You always got to check the context of the speaker, because this character now, how I just did that, this character, it can represent being divided because the tent wall is divided in sections. So he's saying the shepherd, which is Hamashiach or the Most High, or Hamashiach for the Most High, he separated us by the blood from those who were disobedient. So you always got to check the context. This could be used as separation because the tent wall is divided into sections. So that's why I said we can come to the same conclusion by different methods.
That's remarked too. That's
You can also see that with Noah and the ark and how he separated his sons, who are his seed, his blood, put them into the ark.
That's why these hieroglyphs are just simple. We can teach this to our children. Like we could bring little Maverick in here and start teaching him these glyphs because it's just simple.
I also see the tent wall as like a fence, like a protection. You know, a fence protects
from the outside.
From the outside.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Anybody in the virtual classroom?
That's why I said protect in the sense of bread. It's like nourishing, protecting the body from right.
And one thing we realize, going back to his word, his promise, his law, sustaining us, providing for us, the Most High providing for us through his statutes, through our obedience to his word, and through our obedience through his word, we receive the promises that he has made with our forefathers. And another thing to realize about his word, this whole place, this whole plane, this whole flat earth has been created and sustained and being maintained by Yah's laws and by Yah's commandments. And everything flows together because how Yah commanded it to flow together. And the only reason, you know what I'm saying, we don't see that is because of sin. All the creation is on one accordance with Yah. It's us that we aren't in one. It's us that aren't in accordance with Yah. It's us that are in rebellion. And through us being rebellion, it make all the creation goes out of completely. And yeah, man, and his word is alive. And because Yah is life, and when Yah is life, his word is alive. And when we live according to his statutes, according to his righteous standard, we have life. And we're gonna go to Deuteronomy, saying Deuteronomy. We go to chapter 30.
Oh, that one common thing is crazy. I mean, talk about that before.
Thank you.
Everybody good? Oh, praise. Praise. We're going to do Deuteronomy chapter 30. We're going to go to verse 15. And we're going to end it at the end of the chapter.
Come on.
Deuteronomy chapter 12, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. So I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. In that I command thee this day to love Yahweh thy Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply, and Yahweh the Elohim shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou pass over Jordan to go to possess it. I'll call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love Yahweh thy Elohim, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which Yahweh swore unto thy fathers, Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. So in order for us to receive that promise and that land that Yah has gave to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we got to cleave unto him. And what does that entail of cleaving unto him? Keeping his commandments. And what does that entail of keeping his commandments? In entering that life, entering that eternal life, reigning with Yah, reigning with the Mashiach. And yeah, bro, calm. All praises. All praises. And his word, his life, his bread of life, as mentioned earlier before, is a Mashiach Yahawadah. And we all go to first place we're gonna go is John chapter 1. John chapter 1 at verse. We're gonna start at verse 1.
Come on.
Everybody there?
Shema.
People read your mind.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yah, and the Word was Yah.
So a lot of Christians,
Elohim.
the word, most Christians, who subscribe to the Trinitarian thought will use this as a defending point to defend the Trinity. But when you really break it down within a Hebraic, within a Shemitic Hebraic mind, you know that the word Elohim, the word God, can be contributed to angels, can be contributed to the rulers of the nation. And it's pretty much a generic word, you know what I'm saying? And also to go back, looking into the Greek, what I just discovered, because I said it, how you make another tab. Actually, hold on, I think it's a better Bible. Never mind. So, John chapter 1. So the word for God in Greek is theos, right? Mm-hmm. And can y'all see both? All right, cool. So when in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. When you look at the tenses or the word theos and the tense at the end of it, do y'all see anything different regarding these two characters?
So the first one is
You only
G.
have one on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. You see both of them?
Mhm.
Both of them look the same. So
So-
you're talking about the.
So if you check the first Theos, they're both pointing to the Strong's Greek 2316. But then if you, but these are the same. I think
Yeah, they're the
it's the
same.
next verse.
Oh, the next verse?
I think it's
Next verse is verse 2.
because I know where you're going, and what he's bringing out. The Greeks use a different word for God, but this verse they're using the same, I believe. Theos.
Oh, I can't see it.
Theos is. I think it's either. Try the next verse, and you'll see they use a different word there. That's still 2316.
Yeah. But
It's one of them. It's going to be one of these verses.
it's gonna be.
He's bringing out that you got to pay attention to these pagans because they use different words. They use different words in their language, but the English is going to still say God.
Yeah.
And it's not talking about the Most High Yah. It's talking about a lower power God.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like the tenses of the word theos, or the characters for the word theos is completely different. So the correct or a proper way how to see that is in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was, a God, not in the sense that, it was an angel. The word was an angel, the word was a messenger, the word was a ruling power that was created by the Most High.
Well, there is a difference. Salakia, I think I do see a difference though, because if you read one right there under Textus Receptus, if you see how that verse is written out in Greek, the way that last Greek word looked like a O with something in the middle, and then a backwards 3, and then the O with the apostrophe at the top, and then a V.
But I got mine marked in my book too.
But then when you look at the other one, it's like you're going too fast, Yahsayah. Go like is where you would just, so you see the different, look at God, the G2316. And it's two different forms of it written right there, Theos. Like you see the first 3 characters are the same, but one of them got a V at the end and the other one got like a little hanging hook thing.
Right, it's a lowercase second.
Well, what about the second God in that verse? Scroll up a little bit in there.
Stay up here
No,
or
in
go
it.
down.
Yeah, go up. Yeah. Wasn't there a second God in
Yeah, go
there?
to the last God in the verse.
Okay, right there. Yeah, so that one doesn't have a B at the end.
Yeah.
Both of them are C's.
Yeah. Can you watch this? Can you pinch it or magnify it? You can see it better. Just put your 2 fingers together.
There you go. You can see it. Oh, yeah.
So why they do the V?
Call it. He caught it. And I had it marked in my Bible too. You can see the difference what you're bringing out. So here's the first one. You see how Gina and Gerald called the first letter. This is T-E. I forgot if that's an O-V. And then this is a T-E-O-S for Theos. So your point was valid. You see that spell, and this one down here is using a different God, different spelling. T-E-O-S, T-E-O-S. So yeah, you see the difference? You gotta watch these pagans. It's the same Strong's number, 2316, but you can see the spelling is referring to a different power.
So when you're reading,
That's what he was bringing out.
And then too, now you gotta think, that's Greek, but when they translated it from Hebrew writing, what did it say? And so far, we know our word for powers or God could be Allahayim.
Right.
And then that's what you were trying to explain is that
power in Elohim in Hebrew is English, they might say God, but it's a judge or a ruler, because I even explained this in the video that I'm doing. But when it says in the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim, it's saying the word was a ruler. He was with Elohim, the Most High. He was with him, but he was also a ruler, which we know that the Yahawadah is the ruler of Yahsharahla, and through him all things was created.
Come on now.
So that's what it's not saying. This is what they think it's saying.
This ain't no
In the beginning was the word, which is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was with God and is God. That's what they want you to think that it's saying, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying God the Father.
So I'm glad, because I got it marked in my Bible too. So your point was valid that John 1:1 is two different usages of the word God.
So praise the water, Gerald, for capturing that.
Good eye, Gerald.
I couldn't get it all the way.
Yeah, I was straight. That's why I wanted to magnify it. You can see it now.
But that Lacham that you was talking about, like I said,
The more we learn these words and hieroglyphs, I wish you would have did them a PowerPoint so they just so they could see the picture. But the La, the Ka, and the Ma, like it's vividly in my brain. You know, like you see in like a movie in your head. So for bread, right? Coming from manna. So Lacham, calm down. Lacham in the form of manna. Manna came from heaven. Shemayim. So Lacham ma Shemayim, right? To get the manna to come from the Shemayim, it had to be separated from the waters.
Yeah, and that goes back to from Shemaim.
Now, the sense of Lacham for Yahawadah,
He had to be
he is so when you're a shepherd, he is the shepherd. Because he said, I am the Lacham of life. So like that's why English is pure garbage. Because we thinking I am the bread of life. What is he talking about? No, he's saying I am the Lacham of life, meaning a shepherd, when he's herding sheep, he's passing them under the rod, checking, making sure which ones are healthy, fit to come into the pasture or whatever. So in that sense, the law, the shepherd staff representing the shepherd, which is him. Now he's using that shepherd staff to herd the sheep. But how does he know which one he needs to take in? Is through the ka, the separation. So now he's doing the separating. That's the ka, through the smearing of the blood over the doorpost, which is the ma. So that's why he said, I am the bread. I'm the Lacham.
I'm the one that's shepherding you, that's separating you, that's covering you with my blood.
I'm the one that's separating you, bringing you out.
You don't get none of this in church.
That's another form of being marked as well. Because that's how, see, you either had the mark of Egypt, the beast system of that time, or you had to get his mark. And his mark was the people who covered and obeyed the blood over the doorpost. So it just was burning me up. Sitting over here thinking about it, because in my head, I'm just seeing like pictures. Like it's a movie, it's a lot. And so when we get it to the English, it's so watered down. I am the bread of life.
You're not going to feel the effect, bro. It's not, you're not going to feel that same heat.
Because he ain't saying that I'm like a piece of bread. That is so much more than that. So that it's just that's a class by itself.
Also, as Ahch was saying it's just these parallels don't stop, because when he says I'm the bread, I'm the Lacham, Christianity wants to make us think we're all about physical Jacob. You got to be Jacob's bloodline. And we know it's more than about the bloodline. It's about righteousness, obedience. So when Hamashiach says, I'm Lacham, the shepherd's staff, I have authority to separate the seed of Abraham. You see that? These parallels just keep going and going. And if you don't come back to these hieroglyphs, you're not going to get it.
You're gonna be
And
lost in
he
the song,
said, and him being the manna from heaven or the bread, he came from the Shamaryah. So go ahead.
Nah, it is because it hit me too. It's like
That's all
he
you
is the one that was that he separated himself from the right hand of the Father in the Shemaim above the firmament to come down upon us, to walk with us, to deal with us, to bring us back into the covenant with the Most High. It's going to be real.
This is powerful, man. This is a powerful class.
It's going to be real.
This is a powerful class.
All praises to Yah. And yeah, we going. All right, cool. So all praises. If nobody else, if nobody else got anything to say, we're gonna go back to this John 1. We're gonna pick up at verse 2.
The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him, not anything was made that was made. In him was life, and life was the light of men.
So in the Mashiach, right, he was reigning, he was sitting with the Most High from the beginning. And all things were made by the word Mashiach Yahawadah. And nothing upon this plane was created or was made without him.
Mm-hmm.
And in him was a life, and the life was the life of men. So what is life? Life is the law. Life is the commandments. Life, that is how we enter into life. That is how we truly have life. And what is light? Light, again, is the commandments. And that life that we have through obeying the law, we have the light. And when we disobey the law, when we forsake the commandments, when we forsake the Most High, that light of men and that light of men going back to a Mashiach, going back to the commandments, we're void from it.
Mm-hmm.
We're empty from it. We can't operate to our full extent because we have divided and we have cut ourselves off from the Most High. And then
You did good stuff, huh?
all praises, Yah. And now we're gonna stay in John, and we're gonna go to chapter 6, going back to this bread of life. Hold on. Going back to the bread of life, John 6. At verse 35. I got press there. John 6, verse 35. Everybody there?
Smart.
If you don't mind, please read.
And Yahawadah said unto them, I am the bread, I am the Lacham of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst.
Oh, no.
So Mashiach, we already touched on bases. Mashiach's that bread of life, that person that's shepherding us, and that's separating us from the other nations, and that's covering us by his blood. And the only and how he's separating us by his blood. But what is life? The commandments. So Mashiach is shepherding us through his commandments, through the Most High's commandments, separating us by his commandments, and we are receiving that life through his blood, by his commandments.
That's why.
That's really
Excuse me. This.
People don't know how deep this class is right now.
Excuse me.
But that's why it's so frustrating to me when they tell us that Jesus nailed the law to the cross. Like, he is the Torah. Like you don't, I know they don't, their Christian dogma, they think they have something, but you sound like a schizophrenic. Like, how can he nail this to the cross? He's the Lacham, he's the law. Like, that's why we got to come back to our culture, family. This is, wow.
Oh, praise. So that hunger, that's that temporary hunger, right? Or that spiritual hunger. So what we all got voids in our hearts. We try to fill these voids with the sin of this life. But when we submit ourselves to the Most High, follow Mashiach. And how do we follow Mashiach? How do we follow Christ? By keeping his commandments. Through that, we don't need to fulfill the hunger, the temporary pleasures of this world. You know what I'm saying? Those voids in our hearts are already filled when we keep his commandments and have faith in the Mashiach. And that thirst, same thing contributes to that thirst. We are completely satisfied in the Most High through a Mashiach when we submit ourselves to his commandments. They're doing real, dog. All praises. So we're going to go down to verse 48 to 51.
Because he even told the woman at the well that when you drink of this water,
You'll be. Yeah, you don't need to be thirsty. You ain't gonna be thirsty again. All praises. So if you don't mind, please, sir. Shamaryah, please read.
I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down, see, separated, cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world of Israel.
Again, this is when, and this class is super deep, and the babes may be lost, but Yah will be done. This class is very heavy class. This is why it's so imperative to come back to our language, because y'all know the story. These Pharisees was like, what do you mean eat his flesh? And many of the Pharisees and some of his disciples turned away. They're like, this is a hard saying. And they missed what he was saying. Hamashiach knows we can't eat blood and human flesh. It's against the Torah. So when you turn that pagan or butchered word flesh back into, and the bread that I give is my basar, my report. My report. He wasn't telling you this ain't plain airplane where they eating frozen flesh. You missed this in the English. This is the bread I will give. It's my report. It's my basar. It's my basar that I will give for the life of the world, but it's the word of Israel. So this is why it's so imperative. Y'all learn these hieroglyphs. This unlocks the Old and New Testament, gets us back in line with Ibadyah. Hallelujah.
Salakia, can I just land me back on what you just said, Marah? Like you said, this is a pretty heavy teaching. And like you always say, the language is important, and understanding the Hebraisms are important, like the slang that we use. So just to give everybody context or better understanding on what Yahsayah and Marah bringing out, Ezekiel Chapter 3 gives you a good example of the Hebraism. And this verses 1 through 4. And I'll give everybody a chance if they want to go to it, a chance to get to it.
I got it. Ezekiel 3, 1 through 4. Ezekiel 3, he's going to start at 4.
1 through 4.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it says, moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest. Eat this roll. What is the roll? The report. Take this word and ingest it. Read it, study it, comprehend it, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll, and he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Now we know the belly is connected to your flesh, the napash, your desire. And with this roll that I give thee, then did I eat, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel and speak with my words unto them. I'm going to keep going, 5 through 7. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech and of an hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech and of an hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely, had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. So it's the same thing that King Yahawadah was talking about. As soon as he started talking about eating my body and drinking my blood, some of the apostles was like, yo, what is he talking about? They couldn't receive it. They couldn't receive the report. There's another precept that said the same thing. Who can receive our report? Who can eat this roll? Who can eat this word? Who can read this word and it be sweetness in your mouth? But in your flesh, your belly, and your carnal desire is mourning, lamentation, woe, because it's judgment, vengeance for those who choose to stand of carnal and not repent and come back to the Father who is spiritual. So I wanted to say that.
Hallelujah. And another way how this just processed, this 51 process in my mind, my spirit, is that taking part of that blood and that flesh is that persecution, that suffering. So if we want to partake in that bread of life, you know what I'm saying, we have to partake in that blood and that flesh, that suffering, that persecution, that tribulation that Mashiach went through. We have to go through it. That potential murder that we might, fall upon us. We have to go through his life. You know what I'm saying? All praises. All praises. And through us surrendering and sacrificing our life, we'll enter into life. And we almost done. We got probably 2 more precepts. We're gonna stay in the book of John, and we're gonna go to John.
Sound like new members class.
They got you again.
But we coming in, this may sound like new members class, but we coming with the truth, bro. All praises. We're gonna stay at the book of John, and we're gonna keep it in context. We're gonna start John 17, and we're gonna start at verse 1. Stay in context. We all there?
Shema.
Oh, praise John. What? John 17 at verse 1. We're gonna read 1 through 3.
These words spake Yahsayah, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And this is life eternal, that they may know thee, the only true Elohim, and Yahawadah HaMashiach, whom thou hast sent.
off subject, but on subject at the same time. This is another cut to Trinitarian doctrine that the Father is the only true God, the Father is the only true Elohim, and Mashiach is a servant, is the one He has sent. And going back to subject, and this is how you know how we enter into life when we know the Most High and we know His Son. And how do we know that we know Him? How do we know that we know them? By keeping His commandments. That's 1 John chapter 2. Make sure we got this 1 John chapter 2. And we're gonna start at verse 3. Oh, my God. No, it's chapter 2.
It's chapter 2, yeah.
1 John chapter 2. We're gonna start at the first verse.
It's at verse 3.
Yeah. 3. All right, let's start at verse 3.
And hereby we do know that we know Him, if we keep His commandments. He that saith, I know Him, and keepeth not His commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him.
Keep reading down to verse 6.
But whoso keepeth His word, in him verily is the love of Yahweh perfected. Hereby we know we are in Him. He that saith he abideth in Him ought himself also to walk even as He walked. 7. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but the old commandment which you had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word by which you heard from the beginning.
So ain't nothing changed from Parashah, from Genesis all the way to Revelation. Fear the Most High, keep His commandments, cleave upon Him by His Son. Do what you need to do in this captivity, but don't compromise your faith. Don't compromise your walk with the Most High, because that's your soul that's on the line. And that doing, he or she that abideth in Him, ought himself also walk as He walked. And what times Mashiach walked, and how did He walk? He walked in the commandments. So no matter how you look at it, bro, keep the commandments, keep the faith, do what you need to do for the Most High, and be obedient. And with that, you know what I'm saying? That's all I got. All praise to the Most High. Call your dollar, Yahawadah, Shamaryah, Yahsayah. And thank you for, listening. All praise to the Most High.
Praise to the Most High. I told y'all he was a silent assassin.
Big things come in small packages. The boy he says his voice is low, not soft. And he's small but mighty in this word. Young, and I think y'all barely 30, right?
26.
Hallelujah.
Where was you at 26? If we was in this thing at 26, where we'd be right now, get the Most High a hand clap for these young men. Hallelujah. My soul was blessed. Y'all see the Barak was moving in here. Come on out.
Pass on that rod of judgment.
These young men are hungry, humble young men for this truth and for the nation. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And again,
SELAH.
oh, this is nice, brother.
Thank you.
You got a good taste.
SELAH.
Let me get
I gotta say, I appreciate what Yahsayah was bringing out the information, because, like I said, a lot of light bulbs went off in my head, helped me understand some stuff, especially when Shamaryah chimed in and broke down so beautifully that John 1:1 and tying it in how it was truly intended, because it helped me realize that, we are at a point as we're awakening that we talked about this, how Matthew through Revelations, it ain't supposed to be looked at as I'm just going to discard it and throw it out. They had a real intentions. The original writers wasn't contradicting anything. They weren't saying nothing no different than the prophets in the laws. They weren't saying nothing no different, you know. But because we got all of these hands that went through and all these translations, we can't look at it as infallible. We have to understand that the original writer intentions is lost in how they're translating it. And when you understand that and you break it down, ain't nothing wrong with John 1:1. It's just the translators messed it up because they don't understand what the original writer was saying, you know. And it just registered different for me today than it did before. Because I know we talked about this, but the way he broke that down just made so much sense to me. And in turn, I still just spent the last 15 minutes trying to explain it to Doreen and couldn't explain it the same way. But it goes to show that that's because Shamaryah understands the characters and understand the language more. So the way he was able to tie it in, I couldn't do it the same way. But I do get the point and see that, you know, man, like the trickery, the perversion, and what they did to this word, how effective it is. It just hit me. It just hit me different.
And find, like, he could probably go to Blue Letter, I think, and find God in the Old Testament, because, you know, we actually, they have the Hebrew from there, and you could see like Ruth is a good one. I don't know if it's the same everywhere. I think it probably is. Yeah. What does it say there?
It's right here.
Elohim, right? Okay, yeah.
Elohim.
You could click on Elohim right there.
Oh, that's about a shot.
So Elohim, is no E's, so it's Allahayim. Allah, that's why Muslims say Allah, right? So Allahayim, the yam at the end makes it plural, though we know that it's one God. He one just for English. Yeah. He operates in a council.
So here's the root of this is A-L-H, Allah, and this is a Y-M. So the Y-M, Yam, we just make it plural, but he's Allahayim. He encompasses all the powers.
Yeah, he encompasses all the powers, and he operates. It's almost like a judicial council, if that makes sense. But it's crazy because this Man of Steel breakdown I'm doing, I talk about this and explain it, because they must have copied it, because like it's like an image of what these things mean. But when you scroll down to Allahayim, you scroll down to the definitions, Marah.
So quickly, quick question right quick. Doreen asked something. So that Hebrew right there, those characters, is that our cultural Hebrew, or is that the Yiddish form of Hebrew?
That's the Yiddish form of Hebrew. He was just for the sake, he still know how to read it. I know some of the characters too, but the characters are, the letters are correct. It's just
the dots and the nikus and sukus, those are corruptions. And this is the generation they call this the Assyrian script, but that turns out to be a lie. This has to be even newer than when we were in Syria, because Ezra didn't use this script. So we don't know exactly when we call this the block script, because you see most of the letters, you can put a square around them. So this is the block script. So-called theologians are going to call it the Assyrian script, but this is not old enough to go back to when we were in Syria.
And they will call that the modern Hebrew.
Right, so this is modern Hebrew, but these dots, this is what our wicked ancestors created, a system for vowels under the Greek pressure. We don't have a system of vowels. We know after each one of our consonants, we have the A sound. So that's how from years of practice, I just know this is Allahayim.
Yeah, that's a ah, then that's a la, then that's a ha, the characters right there. Then the thing at the end is just to make it plural. Right. It's a plural word. But when you scroll down, did you have any, did that make sense, Gerald, before we move on?
Yeah. I guess she just acknowledged because she got a chart as well on her phone, and she recognized those that are not the same. It looked different from what she see on the chart. So yeah, y'all cleared it up. The so-called modern.
I thought I emailed you. I emailed you again the iTalk cards so you guys can have what we have.
Yeah, and then too, it's a lot of different little stuff out there. So you gotta kind of just keep asking questions because you kind of gotta lock in so you'll know when to tell the differences.
So you talking about these cards here, these old cards that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have a clearer copy?
No, well, those right there that you got.
Yeah, but these ones don't have that.
No, yeah, but he's trying to get them to learn.
Yeah,
learn. If you learn that,
Yeah, I understand. I was just saying when you went over that, kind of made it confusing because we haven't gone over those.
Yeah,
I just know this from experience.
Yeah, they ask specifically
we're not
about that type of writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you learn the ones that he emailed, you will slowly start to learn all of them. I even had someone that was taking Hebrew modern classes, and I haven't taken no classes other than coming right here every day. I ain't even really studied as far as like focus word for word. It's just looking at them and coming in. And he said, I wish I would have learned the way you learned first versus me learning the modern first, because it's hard to go backwards. But now just looking at the definition here, it's telling you what it means. It says rulers or judges. And that's why I said the book of Ruth is so strong, because in the book of Ruth, she says, your gods will be my gods. And a lot of people say that Ruth was a pagan, right, which she wasn't, but just follow the story. They're saying Ruth was saying, well, I'll just go with you and I'll forsake my gods and I'll follow your gods, which was the God of Judah, right? So what it was saying was each tribe was broken up into, well, all 12 tribes broken up. Mm-hmm. She came from a different tribe. So she had rulers, judges. Look at verse B, divine ones. You could say C, but in English, it's going to say angels. But in Hebrew, we're going to say malak or malachayim. Malachayim is a messenger, right, from the Most High. And then D in English is saying gods, right? But rulers and judges, A, is what we had set up in Israel. How do you know that? Because we got a book of judges. Right. So when she was saying, I'm going to forsake my gods, or leave my gods, she was saying, I'm going to leave this tribe, let's say Reuben, and I'm going to go to Judah with you and be your wife. Now the rulers and judges of Judah will be my judges and rulers. So that's how I know when I get to the New Testament and it says the word was with Elohim, there's a reason if you see in the scriptures, they call him the Most High Elohim, because there's many powers. But and if you look at my favorite one is Ezra or Azariah. He calls him the highest. When you read it in the Apocrypha, he says, and the highest. And I was like, man, that just sounds so smooth, the highest. So the highest Elohim. Mm-hmm. So the word created from the Elohim, first of all, creation was with Elohim. Mm-hmm. Now the word created us and created planet, the earth and the moon, the stars, created everything else. So he is Elohim. He is the ruler and judge over the plane of this world, or the world of Yahsharahla, right? Over Yahsharahla. Because we know they gave the authority to Satan to take the other people. But it's once you understand the definition right there, it makes it so clear. Is because we think God as God the Father, when that's not always what they're trying to write. Right. Did that make sense?
100%. That's how I was trying to explain it. But I guess it ain't coming out correctly. So she's gonna have to ask y'all certain questions in another day. But that's what I was saying. Like, so when we look at modern John 1:1, and it say in the beginning was the word, and the word was with capital G-O-D, and the word was capital G-O-D. Well, no, that's not what John was saying. So why did the translator make that mistake? It's because the translator don't understand when that plural character is there in Hebrew, that it ain't talking about the true God. It ain't talking about the Most High. You know, if they just by messing up that and not understanding what the characters is, they'll put God capital up there and throw everybody off. So in English, when we hear capital God, we don't think of nothing but the Most High. There's no other way until it's taught to us, that, wait a minute, John wouldn't have been saying nothing no different, you know, than the prophets. You know, he's in line with this stuff. So just like you said, like I get it. I just wish I understood the characters more, which I'm gonna start getting into, because that stuff be going over our head, man. Because y'all be like, well, go ahead.
Like to lay it back on you regarding the translators, I think they do know, but they want to keep their doctrine intact. You know what I'm saying? Because John 1:1, that's like their standpoint that you see this is the Trinity and Jesus and God. You know what I'm saying? So they might have an understanding of the Hebrew, but as far as their doctrine, they're going to push their doctrine out no matter what. And the main way how they push their doctrine out is through these Bible translations.
So that's why after they celebrate their wicked pagan New Year, we're going back to uprooting Christianity, and we're going to expose some of the translators. And like he just said, the pagans who became Hebraists, meaning they sort of mastered. Again, these are pagans grading each other. The Hebraist is a pagan who think he's mastered the Hebrew language. So like Yahsayah says, those Hebraists probably understand John 1:1 perfectly from the Hebrew context, but they're not going to teach it because it destroys their dogma of Christianity. Because you can't go against the heart of church, and who's that?
Yeah.
Can't go against Rome. You can't go against Rome. So we'll get back to uprooting Christianity and exposing more of the contradictions and just lost in translations, and that's what the Christians are running with. Even when, like you said, you pay classes, go to seminary. If you don't come back to these hieroglyphs, you don't know what's going on.
And I just, last point about it, I try to, I always try to get things to be at the root. And I agree with what Mariah and Yahsayah just said. But sometimes it's just the fact of what they said, what Solomon said, things translated, doesn't equate.
The prologue to Sirach.
The prologue to Sirach says that things translated in other languages doesn't have the same effect. Mm-hmm. So the fact of them just saying, if you were in Hebrew and it says Elohim, we'll know what that means. But in English, it just says God. Or like a good one that I use is Isaiah 25. It says the Most High is going to have a feast for all. In English, it says all. But in Hebrew, it means specifically the nations of Israel. So sometimes it's just a simple fact that English can't equate to what our definitions are. So for us, we surface reading it. Oh, it says God, and that's just the definition we know. Mm-hmm. So we have to learn the original stuff to get the full definition. So when we do just breeze past and read it, we're like, oh, well, in Hebrew, they wouldn't have wrote that. And it just takes building a foundation first in the old to understand what they were saying in the new. Because sometimes it's literally just the lost in translation, just the fact that it says English versus Hebrew, because the New Testament, they wrote that in Greek. So you got to go from what they found in Hebrew, which we don't know, to Greek to English. Right. And so the words and power that was written is just losing its effect. That's just a part of Satan's.
That's part of our punishment.
Yeah.
I try not to get mad with the pagans, because if our ancestors hadn't missed it, our language would never been translated into Greek in the first place. Right. So it's all a result of lawlessness. But we got to go through all this scholarship and study, trying to get back to what our Father told us. Hallelujah. Yeah.